Hey, my name's David Centendry. I'm with Fox 46 Charlotte. Can we talk to you guys about some issues people are reaching out to us about?
That's management for Lake Arbor Apartments off Timberbrook Drive.
Can we talk?
They're not answering questions. So, where do we start?
Why was this ghetto letter on my door?
How about with Ayanna Fleming?
This letter was actually taped on my door.
This letter with a smiley face reads, "Guess who's moving out? You." She lost her job and is yet to pay rent for the current month. That's why she says management put this note on her door.
I mean, it's like it's a big joke with them.
We're just getting started.
You want their rent money, but then you don't want to take care of their needs.
LaSharn Dunlap says she's sick, literally, from mold in her unit.
And I've been back to the doctor back and forth cause of it.
These are the mold samples from the upstairs bedroom.
It's a similar story for LaShawna Rogers, only she says her 2-year-old is the one who's suffering.
He was bleeding out of his nose and his mouth.
And that's why her bed is in the living room. Her family is hiding from mold they say is upstairs.
They have maintenance people that don't give a crap about the people over here.
Wait, there's more. She says units across the complex, like hers, are without air conditioning.
We're sweating. You're even probably sweating right now. It's hot.
It's pretty hot.
It's hot.
Reasons why this Facebook post calling out management for issues has over 1,000 shares. Comments are flooding in, water leaks from ceilings, and other disturbing videos.
These are roaches.
Yeah, because something's wrong with the electricity in this house.
So many tenants are hurting right now, including family members in a neighborhood that is out of power.
Rogers says for speaking out, management is kicking her out.
She refused to accept my payment.
And why do you think that is?
Because I called code enforcement.
Fox 46 Charlotte saw boarded windows, a parking lot covered in filth, and a green swimming pool.
Yeah, you keep going and telling them what your problem is, and they're not fixing it.
Dunlap is moving out.
It has a smiley face.
And Fleming says she has their rent money, but after this display of disrespect, she's leaving too.
Can I give you my card?
Since management would not take my information, I dropped it off to them. We have questions. They're not answering, only driving off with a few beeps. It's a struggle.
You see?
For Katrina Lynch to get past this tricky front door. Once inside, her bedroom door doesn't shut. The air conditioning is broke. Water pressure, well, see for yourself. Cold water is fine, but hot water?
And it's on full blast.
She believes this is mold in her closet. Her family has had significant water damage, so much padding under the carpet had to be stripped out.
That's nothing but cement.
Lynch and her boyfriend are fed up.
You're charging all of this money for these apartments?
Yeah, you want your
maintain them.
With Lake Arbor Apartments. A Fox 46 investigation exposed issues at the complex. Now, thousands are chiming in.
You see all that mold right there?
Mold is at the top of the list. We're getting videos of bouncing floors.
Don't make no sense.
And rotting porches.
Can we talk to you guys about some issues people are reaching out to us about?
Property management didn't answer questions earlier this week. They're still not answering. In fact, they're shutting the blinds on us.
But then if the man that owned the place don't give him the money to hire the staff to do it, how is it gonna get done?
So we reached out to Broad Management in New York. They own the place.
We're wondering why you guys aren't going to answer any questions for us.
And they're not even willing to listen.
How do you guys sleep at night by not answering these questions and letting people live like this?
It's been rough, real rough.
Meanwhile, tenants like Barbara Smith are without power. You see exposed wiring at these electric boxes? Duke Energy says these are violations and they're forced to disconnect power until repairs are made. Duke says this created significant safety issues.
The lights would flicker when it rains and we would smell burning sensation like wires inside of the house.
There's a story at every apartment here.
You see how much trouble she has getting in and out of doors. That's a fire hazard. If something was to happen in here and she's in here by herself, she could be in trouble.
And residents are begging for someone to listen. In West Charlotte, David Centendry, Fox 46 Charlotte. Where's the mail? We'll tell you where it's not, right here at Lake Arbor Apartments.
I wouldn't even recommend a homeless person to live here at all because it's not up to code.
It's where Fox 46 saw postal workers taking mail out of boxes. We checked in on it. and found out their mail service has been suspended. The Postal Service says the mailboxes are in poor condition and the security of the mail cannot be guaranteed.
You know, that's dealing with people's social security numbers, all type of mail information.
The Postal Service says the responsibility of these mailboxes lies with apartment ownership, but ownership isn't even telling tenants that these mailboxes are so bad, the post office is refusing to deliver mail to them.
There was no notification. You basically find things out when you find things out.
Fox 46 found out for tenants to get their mail, they have to drive 5.5 miles away, a nearly 15-minute drive for us, to the post office off Express Drive near the airport, and they can only get their mail between noon and 3 p.m. We wish we could tell you it's only mail problems at Lake Arbor. That's not the case. Flooding, apartments without power, the list goes on.
He was bleeding out of his nose and mouth.
And LaShawna Rogers says her child developed pneumonia from a mold exposure.
He's so young, he's so little.
Rogers, earlier this week, was the first to speak out.
If we wouldn't have spoke up, it could have been another child.
She won't be the last. Community activists demand city leaders step in.
We need to hold them accountable because at the end of the day, they're not doing what they're supposed to do.
Apartment management drove away within minutes of Thursday's arrival.
If I can rate this place, I wouldn't even be able to rate it.
Showing they're just like the mail. A no-show. In West Charlotte, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte.
I noticed one night I was in the bed, I kept hearing something drop and hit the floor.
Check out this wall.
Water was still running down the wall from the rain.
Jeffrey White lives here.
And I could feel water coming from the attic.
There appears to be mold at his ceiling.
There's a weak spot here on the floor under my right feet.
All the way down to the floor. It's a trickle effect to an apartment below.
No one's answered any of our questions.
Fox 46 isn't getting answers here at Lake Arbor Apartments.
Has Lake Arbor ownership been cooperative with you guys?
I would say that there's been a variance on the spectrum there.
But we are getting answers from City of Charlotte code enforcement. We reached out. Videos from Lake Arbor like this, water pouring into an apartment. And roaches continue to roll in.
If you're having issues, please call 311.
The city says there have been 91 complaints at this complex over the past 2 years. There are 48 open cases, and 15 of them are heading to environmental court on Tuesday. That's right. This complex is facing criminal charges for failure to meet minimal housing codes. What will happen?
That's a judge's decision.
It's just very disrespectful and degrading.
Still, it's move-in day for Crystal Slade's daughter. The problem, there's no one here to give her a key.
Who is here that works here?
A man who answered the door says he doesn't work here and no supervisors are in.
Where is my daughter's money?
Slade has sensed things were off ever since her daughter paid a deposit.
Cash money, gave them $800. They counted it out. They took $400, stuck it in their pocket, and gave her a cash receipt for the other $400.
She says this is the unit, a back porch with cleaning supplies, bleach, and feces.
They're not here to collect rent.
This couple, from our understanding, was trying to pay a deposit to move in on Friday.
Espanol.
They don't speak English. Fox 46 decided to translate for them what's been happening, and they decided to leave.
I get to smelling this stuff and start me to sneezing, so that's making me sick, and I have to get up and go out of here.
Mr. White thinks people can't get out of here quick enough. In West Charlotte, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte. Listen closely. Yes, that's right. A Lake Arbor apartment staff member screaming insults at a resident while driving by a new sign that reads, "We love our residents."
You know, they feel like that it's a joke. They don't have to live here, so they don't have to deal with the problems.
Ayanna Fleming was the target of that insult.
You can see what I'm looking at, mold and mildew.
She's just one who blew the whistle on crummy conditions at the complex. Thanks to our Fox 46 investigation, dozens of people are filing complaints with the city of Charlotte.
And this is in the kitchen.
Unlivable conditions.
Please fix this place.
You know, when they fix stuff, they're doing quick fixes. That way it's a cover-up when code enforcement comes, but then it breaks again.
It's so out of control. Police, fire, and code enforcement showed up together to demand action at Lake Arbor on Tuesday.
And you need to stop taking advantage of these tenants over here.
They were supposed to meet a man from New York who says he's with the ownership group, but he ghosted them. Belmar Construction in New York told Fox 46 they own the place.
We keep hearing from residents out here that conditions are really just unlivable. You guys are the owners, and no comment just really doesn't suffice for these people.
It's safe to say they're not cooperating.
You think I'm being rude?
They passed us off onto their management company, Broad Management, who also hung up on us.
We pay our money. Please fix it.
Frustrated tenants are going to court.
What if that was her child or their children?
You don't got no pads on here. Carpet soaking wet.
Tuesday, they went to support the possibility of criminal charges against apartment management for code violations.
They don't care about anything.
Code enforcement says some issues have been fixed. They've been granted 30-day extensions on others.
Rat drippings was all up there.
But we're just getting started. Dozens of new claims have been made since Fox 46's stories.
The ceiling just fell in on the floor.
As for management at the leasing office,
y'all need to quit now.
After all, they say actions speak louder than words. In West Charlotte, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte. Trash. It's all across Lake Arbor Apartments. We're not just talking about inside the dumpsters. It's alongside the dumpsters, in the bushes, stairwells, everywhere you look.
I mean, it's real dirty, you feel me?
Why is it so messy?
I don't care what happens to them, I just want my money.
Well, Anthony Jones and his fiancée run AC Movers and Cleaners. They were hired to clean trash around Lake Arbor and in the apartments that people move out of. But their work stopped when they stopped getting paid.
How much money are we talking about again?
We're almost $15,000.
These invoices show Lake Arbor owes them thousands of dollars.
I mean, people need money to live out here in this world. It's not free.
They started AC Movers and Cleaners to provide for their family. Records show their business is legitimate, but the same can't be said for Lake Arbor.
Karma's gonna get them.
See this name, Lake Arbor Dean TIC LLC. It's the official name on tenants' leases. It's what the property is listed as with Mecklenburg County's Register of Deeds, and it's the name the city of Charlotte recognizes when it comes to official business. But get this, the Secretary of State's office revoked their LLC status in 2016. They're not an official business, but that hasn't stopped them from taking people's money.
Somebody's not doing their job.
Attorney Ralph McMillan says he's never seen this before.
It means it's sloppily run.
A complex this big, not operating as an official business.
So this could be a big thing for the tenants if they decide to do something about it.
And when you say do something about it, you mean take legal action?
That's correct. That's correct. Or even if the government decided to take legal action, that could be a problem.
Mold and mildew.
Trash isn't the only problem. Mold, roaches, electrical issues. We're talking serious code violations. And McMillan says now that there's no actual LLC, it's the people who own the property who are liable. Fox 46 uncovered the name Robert Wolf, listed as manager of the former LLC with a business address in Brooklyn, New York. McMillan says legal action could lead to more names.
Find out who the individual members of the LLC are and then sue them.
Management at the leasing office continues to duck Fox 46. We ran into one man wearing a Broad Management shirt.
Yeah, we're here. We're just trying to figure out if
they manage the property.
Do you guys know if you have the money to pay for these repairs?
But they haven't been managing Fox 46's questions. It's no secret. Lake Arbor is a mess. CMPD and Charlotte Fire issued more code enforcement citations on Thursday, but it's not just what's happening inside.
Sometimes I feel ashamed to be walking outside.
A collapsed wheelchair ramp, boards dangling from the ground, nails are exposed. An open stormwater drain. Neighbors say a child fell in here. You can see toys stuck inside. All that's covering it up is this board. What if a car drove over this instead of the potholes?
They probably need to shut the apartment complex down.
Jones says either Lake Arbor doesn't have the money for repairs or they just don't care.
We need our money.
But they say their mess could be worse.
I need my money, but they need somewhere to stay too.
Kids, little babies getting sick over here and stuff, you feel me?
They could be living in Lake Arbor. In West Charlotte, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte.
We're also curious if you guys have been kicking tenants out who are speaking out to code enforcement about issues here.
Kicked out for speaking out. That's LaShawna Rogers' story.
And can't even open up that door.
She's no longer allowed to live.
They said, the sheriff knocking on your door, and I was like, what you mean?
At this Lake Arbor apartment.
Not right.
It's not because she doesn't have rent money.
Wow, that's all I can say. It's leaking water.
She says it's because she reported violations to code enforcement.
All of a sudden, code enforcement come and you email me, oh, I won't be accepting your rent.
Now Fox 46 has this email exchange between Rogers and property manager Lori Walker. Rogers apologized for calling code enforcement, but the property manager says, I will not be accepting your rent.
Is there a fear throughout the neighborhood that people will get evicted if they speak up?
Yeah.
Add Tanya Burris's name to the list.
It's not fair to any of these people that are doing what they're supposed to do.
She called code enforcement about her air conditioning unit and says, afterwards, eviction was filed for non-payment of July rent.
It's dated July 30th.
But she's showing Fox 46 records of money orders and checks that Lake Arbor, for whatever reason,
these are mine,
didn't cash.
Do you feel this is retaliation?
I do feel like it's retaliation.
That's right. They had her money, but still tried to evict her.
What were you going to do with my outstanding uncashed money orders?
She's thankful that a judge sided in her favor.
Are there issues to be addressed out there? Absolutely.
Pamela Weidman is Charlotte's Director of Housing and Neighborhood Services. There are dozens of code enforcement violations at Lake Arbor. One tenant says this dishwasher has worms in it after feces came in through the pipes.
And I just did a mold sample.
But people are afraid to report them. This woman wouldn't go on camera.
And they was like, no, I'm scared to call code enforcement.
She's not alone. This elderly man's sink continues to leak. He ties a bag to catch the water.
Why do you feel the need to hide your face?
Due to retaliation.
Afraid to show his face, but not afraid to show how much water he says he empties each night. He says the city needs to step in.
Quickly?
As soon as possible.
Fox 46 asked, with all of these issues, can the city perform an inspection of every unit on the property?
It's supposed to be a sink right here.
It can protect tenants who are too scared to call while thoroughly investigating.
If we did that, that would require an enormous amount of manpower hour that would take away from the city's other code enforcement efforts.
At this time, the city is not willing to do that.
So if the residents say this is what we want, then I would support that 110%.
But City Council member Lawana Mayfield might be on board.
Those slumlords, because we need to call them for what they are.
City staff briefed council in early August about what's happening at Lake Arbor, citing our news reports.
That's not supposed to do that.
But it's been investigating since 2017, and Mayfield says it's disturbing that council never had notice.
So did someone drop the ball?
Oh, the ball was dropped, definitely.
She says if it were up to her, Lake Arbor would be condemned. But North Carolina law doesn't give local governments that power.
Local government should have the ability to address a slumlord.
In the meantime, residents are left with all sorts of issues.
But give me a chance.
Fox 46 is getting results. We took Rogers to meet Mayfield, who says she'll do her best to find her a new place to live. It's taken a toll on the community.
I just feel like some things that, should be addressed and not overlooked have been overlooked.
And Lake Arbor is still cashing in.
How many more violations do they want?
When Fox 46 asks management for their side of the story, they choose not to speak. And like many times before, they drive off, leaving tenants with this beeping mess. This is not a friendly conversation.
So what am I supposed to do now?
But it has to happen.
Thanks to the reporter doing this investigation.
This is the 8th Fox 46 investigation.
But I'm gonna try to clean this crap out so my toilet will at least flush.
Into sickly living conditions at Lake Arbor Apartments.
Really deplorable conditions.
59 units and more on the way with active code enforcement violations that management has yet to address.
And why are they not doing anything?
What's the city doing about it?
Every time somebody was running for something, it was all about housing, housing, housing.
We're getting results. City leaders called a meeting on Saturday. Community relations, code enforcement, council, legal aid, all with options for residents to fight back against property management.
People take advantage of us.
County Commissioner Vilma Leak says the ones they elect need to get the job done or else.
We vote them out of office.
hold people accountable.
She's looking into ways Lake Arbor's owner can be sued.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
And the owner, Robert Wolf, lives in Brooklyn, New York. Fox 46 was told that Wolf, or someone close to him, was at Lake Arbor on Thursday for a mandatory file audit. But when we showed up, a security guard told us we were the ones causing problems.
Trespassing.
Seriously?
Mold.
We tried to explain all of the issues we're investigating.
They didn't want you back on the property because of the incidents that you've been causing.
Incidents? Us? We're not the ones taking people's money to live like this.
This is raw sewage. This is tissue paper coming out of the toilet for mine and probably everybody else that's in this unit.
And just to be clear, who from management said that?
I can't.
Anyways, there's no accountability here.
Please help.
That's why tenants like Barbara Smith say it's time to take action.
Are you on board with them inspecting every unit?
Yes, of course.
Even if it means that everyone is put out?
Of course.
Code enforcement has been reluctant to inspect every unit here and only the ones people call to report. The thing is, Fox 46 reported management has been kicking people out who call code enforcement.
What would you do if that happened to you?
I have no clue.
That's why some tenants are speaking to Fox 46 anonymously.
Our goal is to find somewhere for y'all to go.
They're fed up. Enough is enough. We're talking about the lives of our most vulnerable being affected.
The city needs to step up to the plate.
Assess every building or apartment in this complex.
Whether it's a full inspection or even finding a way to shut it down.
You paint me a pretty picture, like I'm just supposed to say okay.
Residents know the people who are cashing their rent checks aren't in their corner.
Here's the demands that we want.
After this weekend's meeting, the hope is that the city continues to listen.
You cared about greenways and all those other things and houses on the other side near the train.
To what's needed on their side of town.
See, the thing about Charlotte want to paint the picture that is beautiful and all this other kind of stuff. When you peel that onion back, this is what you see. The real Charlotte.
Now the question is what will be done?
We have got to do something.
We mentioned residents want every unit inspected. Well, we're getting results and it's happening. Code enforcement telling me this evening these letters are going up on doors to notify residents. There are roughly 300 units at Lake Arbor. Code enforcement will begin with about 60 units this Wednesday, and we'll have more information on this tomorrow. Can I help you, ma'am?
You need to get out.
No, I don't.
In a nutshell, this is what Fox 46 is dealing with at Lake Arbor Apartments.
It's shady business.
They're scrambling to get rid of major issues.
Concern for them? Definitely. Definitely.
Fox 46 is getting results. You see this letter? Charlotte Code Enforcement is notifying residents that it'll inspect every unit for violations starting Wednesday. This after a Fox 46 investigation uncovered disturbing living conditions.
They need to be gutted.
City leaders said a full inspection would be too much work.
That would require an enormous amount of manpower hour.
We gotta get these folks out of office, man.
But residents didn't go away quietly.
Who wants to live over there?
DeAndre Small says the city will discover a lot of problems.
I've been actually sleeping out of my car.
He doesn't live at Lake Arbor.
Plug this up, blow this up, and close this and call it a night.
But says management is the reason he's homeless.
You know, I have the actual Lake Arbor checkoff list.
Small's company, Gifted Hands Painting, was contracted to work there.
It was a 30-day payout. 30 days went by and I still didn't receive a check.
But he says the money he's owed hasn't come.
Over $3,000.
He says he's seen a lot of mold at the complex and plenty of roaches.
I would go in the apartment, open the door, and there's roaches falling on me.
Now we're seeing roaches covered in mold. You can't make this stuff up.
How bad is it at Lake Arbor?
It's pretty bad.
And Small says management told him to paint over some of the mold. Yeah, just paint over it.
You don't do people like this, man.
Fox 46 is working to get answers.
Yes, sir.
We went through this last week.
While a security guard is working to kick us off the property, even though he's not respecting our property.
Can you get your hand off my car, please? Can you get your hand off my car, please?
Okay.
Thank you.
Police say we're allowed to be here as long as we're invited by a tenant.
You need to get out.
No, I don't.
This woman, who's with the owner, isn't thrilled about it. The complex is making its own inspections just one day before the city rolls in.
All of a sudden, we have representatives of the company
that are coming out here wanting to know what's going on.
Fox 46 saw this air conditioning unit get replaced. The person living in the apartment says it hasn't worked in 2.5 years.
When I saw the note, I was actually ecstatic.
Now residents feel it's only the beginning, and the city will start to see what they're dealing with.
You know, people shouldn't have to live like this at all.
This inspection will start in phases. Around 60 apartments are on the list tomorrow, and of course, Fox 46 will be there. Brian, Diana.
Results for sure, David. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Yeah. My name's David Santendra. I'd like to talk to you about Lake Arbor Apartments.
I have nothing. I can't. No comment, please.
Well, we'd like to talk to you about these horrible living conditions that people...
comment.
Are you okay with how people are living? The city is inspecting.
You can slam a door, but it's tough to drive away.
Are you a slumlord?
When it's rush hour traffic.
Sir, are you a slumlord?
This is who, according to multiple witnesses, introduced himself as the owner of Lake Arbor Apartments.
They wouldn't even let me close to him to ask him a question.
Residents want to know why their living conditions are unlivable. Duke Energy shut one building down because of electrical issues, and the post office isn't delivering mail because the boxes are too messed up.
But I'm gonna try to clean this crap out so my toilet will at least flush.
There's raw sewage, water leaks. Tenants say mold is making them sick. And let's not forget about the rats.
It's not even about paying the rent, it's more about the health of these people.
Fox 46 is getting results. The city is stepping in to inspect every unit on the property.
City of Charlotte, we need you.
The first round, 61 of nearly 300 apartments were inspected on Wednesday.
We found violations in all 61 that we entered.
Seriously, every unit?
Every unit and I would expect that that's normal.
Code enforcement says violations might be common, but admits Lake Arbor isn't fixing issues that have already been reported. That's why management is facing criminal charges. It's difficult for tenants to make sense of all of this.
You can't. I can't.
Records show Robert Wolf, based in Brooklyn, New York, is the owner of Lake Arbor Dean TIC LLC. That's the official business name, but remember, Fox 46 uncovered their license was revoked by the Secretary of State's office in 2015, yet they're still signing leases and checks under that name.
It's a disgrace.
The North Carolina Attorney General's office is looking into what happened while Wolf has refiled for a license.
A little bit mysterious, out-of-state owners.
But code enforcement says multiple people are involved in ownership. Still, they've had no contact with any of them.
What does that say to you?
Coward.
Code enforcement says it was told an owner is in town for this inspection.
He's just like running and hiding.
Fox 46 tried to find him at the apartments throughout the week, but security called police and tried to get us for trespassing. Police told us we're allowed at apartments we're invited to, but not at the leasing office.
I don't want you videoing me down here.
Hey, it doesn't matter what you want.
So here we are. Security is watching our every move, standing next to our car just in case we slip up. Well, while they were spending their time watching me, they had no idea that Fox 46 photographer Brian Christensen was camped out in the woods near the leasing office. He waited for several hours until the man who's telling people he's an owner came outside to his rental car. That's when we followed him 5 miles to a hotel in Uptown, all in an effort to get answers for the ones living in these disgusting conditions.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
My name's David Santendra. I'd like to talk to you about Lake Arbor Apartments.
I have nothing. I can't. No comment, please.
Well, we'd like to talk to you about these horrible living conditions that
no
people...
comment.
Are you okay with how people are living? The city is inspecting. Can I give you my card, sir? We demand some answers for these people. Your gas cap is open.
He's gonna be stuck right there. You want to go for it again?
Yeah. Sir, we would like to talk to you about what's happening at these apartments. Are you okay with how people are living? These are the lives of adults, children.
You're taking thousands of dollars for people to live in filth. Are you a slumlord? Sir, are you a slumlord? Children are getting sick. Senior citizens have nowhere else to go. You're taking thousands of dollars for people to live in filth. Are you a slumlord?
Traffic's moving.
We're gonna keep reporting. Reporting on Lake Arbor Apartments, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte.
And we are so proud of David tonight because of his investigations. The North Carolina Attorney General is launching a formal investigation into the Lake Arbor Apartments.
First on Fox, getting results for hundreds of neighbors living in conditions so bad even the roaches are covered in mold.
It's a story only Fox 46 investigator David Centendry has been following for months. He joins us live in the studio tonight. And David, new evidence continues to stack up against the Lake Arbor Apartments.
Yeah, Diana and Brian, we asked the city to inspect every unit. It did and found violations in every unit. But Fox 46 found out the issues tenants are concerned about the most is something no one is looking for.
Smiley face.
I don't think he'd be smiling if he knew it was on him.
Don't let this smiley face fool you.
I would say it is.
What's living inside this apartment is dangerous.
Because there's a ton of it right in here.
All sorts of mold.
Yeah, I think that couch has seen its better days.
And nothing is being done about it.
We need to let everybody know that this is not going to be tolerated, that people are paying attention.
Until now. We'll get back to that.
You can't breathe, you get headaches.
Ayanna Fleming lives here at Lake Arbor Apartments. It's the center of a Fox 46 investigation stretching for months. Sir, are you a slumlord? Those in charge are refusing to speak about living conditions that are unlivable. City code enforcement is finding violations inside every unit. Still, the biggest concern for residents is something both the city and county do not inspect.
And I used to always wipe it down and it comes back.
We're talking about mold. A former contractor says Lake Arbor management wants it covered up.
Instead of cutting it out, repairing it, I was told to just put the little kills on it, spray it out, bleach it out, let it dry, and paint over it.
So Fox 46 brought in an expert to test an apartment.
Yeah, that thing's covered there.
And it's every place we checked.
All this black's usually more of a concern to me.
For starters, 5 different types of mold were found in the vents, including very heavy levels of Stachybotrys, which is so dangerous, it's been used as a chemical warfare agent.
We got a lot of black here. There's a whole lot of green back here. You got it all over the head of this baby doll, too.
Here's what's crazy. Look at what's covering this smiley face. Tests confirm very heavy levels of Aspergillus, which can cause disease, especially for people with a weakened immune system.
You got some right here.
It's all across the apartment. Shoes, the bedroom, the couch. Seriously, it's everywhere you look. No area is safe with moisture levels in the air reading off the charts.
Moisture is water and it turns to mold.
This is the same apartment where back in August we found roaches covered in mold.
And now I have to throw everything away.
You might question if mold is limited to Fleming's apartment.
Yeah, you see this?
But Elias Mueller is shutting down those questions. He says mold is growing on his clothes, couch cushions, kitchen table, and I don't think he's going to be wearing this hat anytime soon.
I told for the change the apartment, no change nothing to me.
Meanwhile, he's still paying money to live here.
How much money are you paying in rent here every month?
$840.
$840. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
People deserve to have a quality roof over their head, and clearly this is not happening right now.
North Carolina State Representative Chaz Beasley has been following our investigations. He's even toured the property on his own.
Pretty much everything you can imagine we saw.
He says it's time for change. And right now in Charlotte, like other cities across the state, there's no enforcement for mold at rental properties.
I grew up in a low-income area. I grew up with a mom who was just trying to get by, and I can remember having mold in our house and not knowing how dangerous it was.
Everything.
But now we know the dangers.
The science is there. The key thing is understanding how to actually enforce it. And if we're not going to take the time to actually figure that out, there are going to be a lot of people whose health is going to suffer.
Potentially, could that mean new legislation?
If that's where the hole is, then we need to fix that.
And there's a lot to fix. Residents continue to send Fox 46 evidence of what appears to be mold. We're getting results, but these positive results are nothing to smile at.
That's your little smiley face.
Because one day I came home and all my furniture was filled with mold.
Lake Arbor residents are pleading with Mecklenburg County commissioners for help.
I've seen some bad apartments in some, but I ain't never seen nothing like Lake Arbor Apartments.
City code enforcement violations have been found in every unit.
This is where they sleep. This is where their children play.
Some county commissioners stress that residents need to stay on top of the city.
Hold the city council accountable for their job. Code enforcement, code enforcement.
And some commissioners are asking how they can utilize the county health department to take action.
I mean, we have health inspectors that visit restaurants, and if there are X number of failures, the restaurant has to close until they remediate them.
But the health director says that's not an option.
It is very limited at this point in time.
The state does not give counties that authority.
That this is about legislation that allows for these slumlords to operate.
Many commissioners agree.
On the legislative package, it gets to Raleigh and they shoot it down.
Speaking of being shut down, residents say they have not been allowed to sit in on meetings between the city and Lake Arbor's management. Commissioner Pat Cotham says maybe the county and residents should have their own meeting.
And we'll exclude them, you know. Let's have our own meeting.
This all comes down to people just wanting a safe place to live.
Just take a day over there and just go and see what they're going through.
Water's just leaking, just dripping. I might as well get a bucket and put right here.
How would you feel if water leaked from your living room ceiling every time you used your upstairs washing machine?
I mean, it's not drip, drip. It's like gushing down. You can hear it like it's pouring, raining.
It's reality for Sonia Watts. From the floor to the ceiling, her Lake Arbor apartment is soaked.
That's not fair to me or my family.
To top it all off, it also causes her neighbor's unit to leak. She's had to cut back on laundry.
3 times a week to 1 time.
City of Charlotte is inspecting violations in every unit across Lake Arbor, so you'd think a visual like this would be presented to City Council, but instead, at last week's meeting, code enforcement started its presentation with this photo of a unit with trash on the ground.
Unsanitary conditions.
Yes, it is a violation, but residents are furious.
I feel like code enforcement has not been truthful.
And community organizers feel it's purposely misleading.
Code enforcement was trying to create an image that the residents are the reason that these apartments are deteriorated, and that's not the case.
Contrary to what people believe.
Natasha Tucker says she keeps her unit clean, but there's a dirty issue that's not her fault.
Since I've been here, we've caught 3.
Rat traps are scattered across her apartment. She sent Fox 46 multiple photos of rats she's caught. Still, listen to this response from code enforcement to City Council during a presentation.
In all of your inspections, did you find any evidence of rodent infestation?
No, sir. Code enforcement said directly to City Council that there were no signs of rodent infestation. What do you say to that?
There are definitely signs.
See for yourself.
Whatever that is bit through hard plastic, and just to give you an idea...
That's not styrofoam, that's plastic.
This is plastic. Jesus?
But don't take our word for it. Read her violation list directly from code enforcement. That list saw evidence of rodents. Trust us.
Here's our dead rat. Here's your proof. We got the dead rat.
She's not the only one.
And
so why wasn't that presented to City Council?
They are trying to sweep us under the carpet.
All sorts of transparency questions continue to rise while talking about Lake Arbor. For starters, council discussions have been left off multiple public agendas, and let's not forget, code enforcement recently met with apartment management and its attorneys to go over a corrective action plan, but the city refused to tell residents and Fox 46 where and when that meeting was taking place.
It says sneaky, it says they don't value the residents.
And then there's Mayor Vi Lyles. For over a month, Fox 46 reached out to her office for an interview rescue, but we were continuously denied that opportunity, so we finally tracked her down outside of a meeting.
When you went out to Lake Arbor, did you meet with any residents?
I actually did not meet with the residents. I went out and talked to the inspectors and had an opportunity to visit the physical properties.
The mayor says she visited the apartments, but back on September 25th, we emailed for details about a visit, and still, we have no answers. Residents wonder if she was there, why wouldn't she want to speak with any of them?
It's not acceptable on any level.
Since the beginning, residents say they want their slumlord held accountable.
The water tends to gush out the walls, as you can see.
But they're still not sure if anyone is really seeing what's happening at Lake Arbor.
They were not being truthful.
Yeah, it definitely disturbing pictures.
The disturbing pictures that Charlotte City Council member Gregory Phipps is referencing deals with rats. More rats.
Here's our dead rat. Here's your proof.
And even more evidence of rats at Lake Arbor Apartments. Even though when Councilmember Phipps directly asked code enforcement about rodents, he received a different answer.
In all of your inspections, did you find any evidence of rodent infestation?
No, sir.
That response is from last week's council meeting.
But I'm going to try to clean this crap out so my toilet will at least flush.
Code enforcement is investigating slumlord conditions at Lake Arbor.
You know, I don't even like mice, so let alone rats.
And while code enforcement told Councilman Phipps there's no infestation, we obtained some of their own documents that show otherwise. Infestation saw evidence of rodents.
To have a report from code enforcement that seems to suggest the opposite is a surprise to me, and that's not the message that I received on 2 separate occasions.
Transparency. It's an action many residents feel they're not getting.
Staff needs to be honest with council.
City Council member LaWanna Mayfield also has issues with code enforcement's presentation. Right here, as code enforcement highlights issues it's working on, the first photo shown is an apartment with clothes and trash on the ground.
Code enforcement was trying to create an image that the residents are the reason that these apartments are deteriorated, and that's not the case.
The presentation failed to show water leaks. It also failed to show mold, which Fox 46 tested for.
All this black's usually more of a concern to me.
I just think it was very misleading the way some of the photos were presented.
The city says Lake Arbor management has agreed to fix all violations, but many residents have lost trust. After all, code enforcement is meeting with apartment management and their attorneys behind closed doors.
And we can't have a transparent conversation if the residents aren't at the table.
I'm going to ask them to stand.
Code enforcement recognized its workers at the council meeting. Tenants say on the surface, that's fine. But everyone needs to recognize all of the work that's still left. In West Charlotte, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte.
Did you find any evidence of rodents?
City of Charlotte code enforcement is now backtracking from its initial stance that there's no evidence of rodent infestation at the troubled Lake Arbor Apartments. This is from the last city council meeting.
In all of your inspections, did you find any evidence of rodent infestation?
No, sir.
Here's our dead rat. Here's your proof.
That's difficult to believe, especially when speaking with residents.
This guy said he didn't see any rodents. I have pictures of a rat this big. I'm not exaggerating to you. You saw it on the news.
Fox 46 uncovered code enforcement's own documents listing an infestation.
It was an erroneous statement.
Now, Monday night, the head of code enforcement says 6 Lake Arbor units are now being treated.
I was not aware of that when I made that statement.
So that's why we're asking, whose side are you on?
Residents believe the city is being too easy on who they call a slumlord.
Whose side are you really on?
The city has stepped in to inspect every unit in the complex, nearly 300. Property management has until the end of the year to fix the issues, but City Council member LaWanna Mayfield says state government limits their authority.
The reality is we do not have the legal ability to go in and say, eminent domain, we're going to take this building.
Still, Councilmember Matt Newton believes there has to be some sort of solution.
I'm wondering, can we be a little bit more strict, in our own code?
For people who feel these conditions on a daily basis, they're putting the city on notice.
You will continue to see this face until something happens. I promise you.
the air that's coming in.
Bed sheets covering sliding doors.
So I can keep it warm as possible in here.
Denise Blakeney says she's been without heat since October. She's forced to use space heaters.
And that's what I have to do to try and heat up downstairs.
And even the oven.
It's very frustrating. It really is.
And that's not the only issue at her Lake Arbor apartment in West Charlotte.
My power here, I got to either play with this.
She says half of her outlets don't work, and water leaks from the ceiling caused one to catch fire.
So I don't have any heat.
Plenty of lights don't work. Heck, we would have been in the dark if we didn't bring our own. This shouldn't be happening, and the city knows it.
Water's just leaking, just dripping. I might as well get a bucket and put right here.
Water leaks, mold, roaches, just a few of the hundreds of code enforcement violations that a series of Fox 46 investigations uncovered at Lake Arbor.
And this raw sewage.
Nearly 300 apartments, all of them were found to have violations. City code enforcement met with the landlord's attorneys behind closed doors to receive a corrective action plan. Here's part of that plan that code enforcement relayed to City Council back in October.
The heating in all units to be serviced and completely functional by November 30th.
So this is how I have to heat up downstairs.
It doesn't appear that happened.
And it proposed to have all tenant occupied units code compliant by the end of 2018.
Here we are, 2019, and the city tells Fox 46 it's still monitoring over 200 apartments with violations.
That's just unacceptable on all accounts.
The nonprofit Action NC is working with tenants. They emailed City Council and County Commission members to let them know the landlord has failed to meet this deadline. What happens next?
It's really going to tell the determination of who Charlotte really cares about.
Back in October, Mayor Vi Lyles had her questions and concerns.
What are the consequences if the plan is not met by those dates?
Our enforcement process is very prescriptive, and it has deadlines that are prescribed by the ordinance itself.
Fox 46 reached out to the city on Wednesday for specifics on these enforcements. A city spokesperson emailed saying, "That's the first I've heard of a hard deadline of January 1st, especially given the number of cases. However, I can verify with code enforcement on Monday." Well, we then forwarded these clips from code enforcement.
All tenant occupied units to be in compliance by the end of 2018.
And have yet to hear back.
I usually let it heat up first, then pull down the door.
Meanwhile, tenants like Blakeney say it hasn't exactly been a warm welcome to 2019.
Backlash on all of them.
3 words.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
It's your fault.
Words directed to the residents of Lake Arbor Apartments from office management.
Raw sewage.
Code enforcement violations found in every unit following a Fox 46 investigation. Sickly living conditions. The city says management is responsible. They're even taking them to court for failure to fix certain violations.
Can we talk to you guys about some issues people are reaching out to us about?
Management refuses to answer questions.
You need to get out.
No, I don't.
They've tried to silence our reporting.
Yes, sir. We went through this last week.
Even hiring security to follow us.
I don't want you videoing me.
Hey, it doesn't matter what you want.
A man who residents say claims to be an owner won't even look at us.
Sir, are you a slumlord?
This is why Fox 46 sent someone undercover to get results at Lake Arbor. A Fox 46 producer posing as a prospective renter casually mentioned some of the issues we've uncovered.
And then I saw like some news stuff. That's not okay.
The leasing agent goes on to say that residents not only created the violations, they wouldn't let maintenance into their units to fix problems.
So what they did was they thought that if they call the city and do all this stuff, that they don't have to pay rent, and they'll put them somewhere, do this, and yeah.
I gotcha.
Backlash on all of them, because it's your fault. Water's just leaking, just dripping. I might as well get a bucket and put right here.
Lake Arbor is appealing all violations to the city's Housing Appeals Board this Tuesday. Lake Arbor initially told the city all units would be fixed by the end of 2018, but here we are in 2019, and the city says only about a third of them have been brought into compliance. But Fox 46 recorded Lake Arbor saying the exact opposite to our producer.
They're in compliance, they're doing what they're supposed to do.
After seeing all the stories of people dealing with violations at Lake Arbor, Would you want to move in here?
You know, you see stuff, you want to make sure that, you know, you're not moving into like a rundown apartment or anything.
Yes.
A step towards justice for Lake Arbor residents.
We are not vandals. We are not criminals. We are not gangsters.
Charlotte's Housing Appeals Board says the landlord will pay up as code enforcement violations for the apartments continue to stack up.
I tried to start out by saying how many hundreds of thousands of dollars they're losing per day.
Attorneys for the landlord tell the appeals board the owner is losing money while making repairs. He purchased the property in 2014.
In some ways, I think we're discovering now that we purchased a lemon.
They're asking for more time to make repairs, but the appeals board believes the buck stops here.
If it had been taken care of properly, you wouldn't need 9 months.
Attorneys say they're working to better communication all around.
I gave you my word that that's something that I'm going to attempt to do.
The board says too little, too late.
But it was only after you were slapped, shamed, and brought before us. My soapbox is ended there.
They're moving forward with a civil penalty process that the landlord can appeal. Penalties start off at $100 for each unit in violation and $10 per day after that. Added up, that's an $18,600 fine as it stands, with up to an $1,860 fine for each day following.
Right? If nobody wants to live in the apartments, then you might as well just shut it down. And if that's the way that this property has to go, it's a shame for Charlotte and it's a shame for the landlord.
Attorneys aren't ruling out shutting down the complex. Fox 46 tried to speak with them after the meeting about transparency concerns voiced by Mayor Vi Lyles.
Really, what we want to talk to you about, the mayor mentioned you in a public meeting about a week ago, said it had taken about 9 months to really get in contact with someone from Lake Arbor. Have you had any additional contact with the mayor since then? She was talking about having a meeting.
Again, that's why I exchanged business cards with you.
We tried to get answers from their out-of-state attorney, Scott Brown, who did not respond to our questions sent over email last week.
We're done.
That didn't happen. His associate did say we can schedule a meeting. For now, politicians, faith leaders, organizers, residents,
it's not the tenant's fault,
believe Tuesday was a start towards accountability. Reporting at the Government Center, David Centendry, Fox 46, Charlotte. It's difficult to see from the outside looking in, but there's something troubling Carolyn Harris and her family. No, it's not the fact that 3 of their 6 children and both parents are deaf. It's mold growing inside of their South Charlotte apartment.
It started with wheezing.
Doctors are warning the landlord that mold might be making the family sick.
He doesn't want the children's health to get worse.
The Reserve at Providence moved them to a different unit after their apartment tested positive for dangerous levels of mold.
This is in the closet of the baby's bedroom?
Yes.
But their new apartment is also testing positive for mold.
Frustrating.
Fox 46 is trying to find out what can be done for this family.
Yeah, we have no comment. I'm sorry. Can you leave?
Management refuses to answer our questions.
It affected his immune system.
And the family says maintenance makes excuses.
It's not mold, it's dirt.
We've heard a similar response before from Charlotte's Director of Housing and Neighborhood Services, Pam Weidman.
That's often what we find is dirt instead of mold.
But Fox 46 continues to get different results. We hired our own inspector who found very heavy levels of mold at West Charlotte's Lake Arbor Apartments.
All this black's usually more of a concern to me.
We've confirmed similar cases at North Charlotte's North Cross townhomes. Over on the east side, we haven't forgot about Heritage Park. And back to the Reserve in South Charlotte, it's not just the Harris family. We also confirmed mold at a neighboring apartment. What's most alarming, there's no one to hold landlords accountable for mold.
And we have to make sure that everyone is completely clear about what code enforcement can do and what they can't do.
North Carolina State Representative Chaz Beasley is working with Fox 46 to get results.
We understand that mold has health implications.
Last fall, we took the concerns of hundreds of tenants to him after we uncovered that code enforcement will not cite mold as a violation.
There's a ton of it right in here.
And apartments like this one at Lake Arbor still sit with mold all over the place, caked to furniture, with no penalty to the landlord. Beasley said he'd look into it.
If that's where the hole is, then we need to fix that.
Now, a few months later, we're getting results. He says he's writing a law that, if passed, would help regulate mold problems in housing across the state.
We want to file a bill this session, and we want to get it passed this session because the people at Lake Arbor cannot wait another year or another 2 years to get results.
That's crazy.
Of course, we all know it's more than West Charlotte's Lake Arbor that's dealing with mold issues.
There's no explanation for it.
It's North Charlotte's Jessica Smith and her son Lyndon. It's the East Side's Cesar Salgado.
She's really so scared.
And South Side, it's Harris and her fiance Daniel taking care of their 6 children, Jaheim, Josiah, Jordan, Jacoby, Jalen, and Jaden.
He said he's proud. He's proud to be deaf.
A majority in this family might be hearing impaired.
He said that's the way God made him, so he's fine.
But when it comes to understanding living with mold can be toxic, it's crystal clear.